let's shift gears. Let's talk about 2012 and our very first Bulldog Brawl at University of Georgia when you stepped in the ring. Tell me what you remember from that experience.
I got beat up so bad I just blacked out the whole day. No, I'm just kidding. Partially, maybe. So I had never done anything like boxing before. And it's interesting because you just said it so well how the brawl and the things you experience in the brawl correlates so well with everything else I've been talking about. So you would think that, this guy coming from this adventure background, he could jump into this and do it no problem. That's really not the case. Just like, as you know, all the other brawlers, you go through this mental challenge of this fear of stepping in the ring to see what you can do in a sport you've never done before, where you're literally taking punches to the face for it. So that was a very intimidating experience, even with the background that I had. Fortunately, I did have a wrestling background, which I thought would help because it's also one-on-one in a kind of a combative environment. Of course, there's no punching or things like that. But the one thing that did translate really well from wrestling was stamina. And I think I forgot about that 4 years later. But in that very first fight, stamina, I think, was what ultimately allowed me to come out on top and win the match, because in the third round, it came down to who's more in shape.
So let's pause there. So the guy you're against, the guy named Justin Bradley, he was on the baseball club team for University of Georgia, great athlete, and had been training boxing a little bit longer than you.
Yeah.
And going in, I considered him to kind of have an advantage just because of the additional boxing training. But what I overlooked and what you taught me was that wrestling stamina, the going, as hard as you could for 3 equal rounds, because Justin lost steam. And forgive me, it has a happy ending, but the first 2 rounds, he took you to town, man.
He did.
There were some big shots. I was like, oh no, my friend Marshall's getting beat up.
It was bad.
And I mean, there are a lot of pictures from that first event Blaine Marable took. And there's one where he literally punched you through a rope, and it's right in front of me. I'm like, oh no. And
I almost fell out. He almost punched me out of the ring.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah. There's a picture of that moment, which is awesome. We'll try to share that.
Yeah. Well, there's YouTube video still of it, so you can watch it.
Yeah, it's on YouTube too. So I remember that moment. I was just like, oh man. And then it's beautiful because it sets up this third round where you just go on a roll. He's exhausted. He can't defend himself. You land double-digit punches in a row against him, and the refs have to call it. So you get that third-round TKO. What was that like going from man, I'm having my ass handed to me to I just won? That transformation.
It was a really interesting and insightful experience for me, actually, because I'm generally just a really kind of happy, nice guy. It's really hard to piss me off, so, as you probably know. So it took 2 rounds of me getting the shit kicked out of me to really piss me off and get into real boxing mode. And I think it was a combination of going into that third round, just being I'm not taking another round of a beating like that, as well as keeping the stamina at 100% the whole time. That I think that was the combination of the 2 things, with also the factor of Justin losing a little bit of stamina, just like everyone does going into the third period, and probably also thinking all right, I got this guy in the first 2 rounds. There's probably not that much I have to do. Just take it easy in this one. I haven't talked to him about that. I don't know, but I would have that thought going through my head, so I'm assuming he might have. And all those factors just played together in that sense. But it was a really insightful experience for me because I learned a lot of those things along the way, as well as the power of persistence and never letting that power level drop below 100%. It's going hard the whole time.
It's an inspirational moment. I mean, for people listening, you might be losing the first round in the ring or in life. Don't give up. You could have your Marshall Mosher moment in the third round and get that TKO.
Especially in life, there's no third round.
Yeah.
Unless you do something that kills you, I guess. But there's always another round that you can get back in and change the game, for sure, no matter how the other ones are.
Bye.